Can I get a amen? Wow. What a Wednesday this is. You know, first of all, I'm your host, DJ. Right there is my co-host who is fluent in both Spanish, English, and Boston. None other than Boston Bia.
Hi, how are you?
I saw it. Anyway.
I saw it.
Welcome back, everybody. We brought on this special guest today to talk about the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case. And as it turns out, there's just a little bit of news in Norfolk County. Nothing big, only charges being dropped, but we're gonna get it from him. And this gentleman right here is brother counsel to Mark Betterow, brother counsel to the entire true crime community and legal community, and my Jewish brothers. So if you would, without further ado, please give a hearty welcome to my man, brother counsel, Martin Radner. Yeah!
I love the intro here. That's why I keep coming back.
Yes, sir. It is an honor to have you back, Martin. It's been a while. We try not to bug you too much. You know, every couple months, like, we'll try to get you in here. But thank you so very much for coming in. And boy, we had no idea what was going to be on your docket today. And by the way, before we even get started, had you ever thought of becoming a judge, Martin?
You know, I guess all lawyers think about it once in a while. You're in front of judges all the time. But I don't think that that's really my place. I always enjoyed representing clients and making arguments and, you know, going to trial. That's what really speaks to me. And it's really more up my alley, I think. Although I got to tell you, as I'm getting a little bit older, you know, it's a stressful job. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot of work that goes into trial. People don't really know what goes on when you're not watching the trial. It's extremely stressful. So, you know, I've been taking a step back actually from trial work myself, although I do have cases that I'm working on, and I've had a few trials scheduled. I guess fortunately for my client, they didn't go because they all settled or resolved favorably. So we didn't have to go to trial, but we had some scheduled. We were ready to put a pause on the channel so we can do the trials, but you know, they all resolved favorably. So I wasn't able to do that. So the closest that I'm getting to trial these days is covering these trials and covering what's going on apparently in Massachusetts every other day of the week, which is
never a dull moment.
Yeah, it seems like we can't get away from Massachusetts. Every time we try to like step away and see what other cases are going on, another case from Massachusetts just brings us right back. So, you know, but they'll hopefully settle all that and figure it all out there and correct all the problems that they may have there. And we won't be seeing cases like Kelsey Fitzsimmons in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully not. I mean, it's ironic that we were doing a fundraiser for our colleague, the three of us, Mike Crawford of the Young Jerks, and we were doing a legal defense fund fundraiser for him. And I was saying on air, I was telling people right now, there isn't a new case to look at in Massachusetts, but when there is, you can be 100% sure Mike will be on it. So then all of a sudden Mike comes on air with us, and we didn't know that he was going to come. And he said, guess what? There is another case, Kelsey Fitzsimmons. And I was just like, wow, you know, and I had heard about it. I think Bia may have told me about it, but I was not read into the case, and oh boy, was he right. And I just want to say, just before we leave the subject of you and your future career, I've seen you on air with both your dad and Solomon, and it makes me smile because I know your dad must be so proud of you. So I just want to say that.
He says he is. You know, we try to make him proud. He may have more to be proud of with Solomon than me, but Solomon's awesome. Also, everybody loves Solomon. When I'm able to get him onto the show, we do that. And we had him on every single week, breaking down everything that happened in Karen Reed. I definitely want to have him on more. He's just a busy guy, and everybody just die. Like, people like bored of me. They just want Solomon already, you know? So like,
I want Solomon on this show, but you're just as good. I mean, your dad is just, first of all, your dad is just as proud of you as he is of Solomon. Let me get that out of the way. But yeah, we would love to have him on, because the way that you presented him is, this is a guy who's neutral. He hasn't done a deep dive on the case. He is answering these questions as I present the facts to him, and in a very unbiased manner, the way you presented them. And he was able to break it down. And, as you say, national trial attorney, and we're all just going, wow, we're on the right track in terms of how Bev should have ruled on certain things, etc. So,
oh yeah, I mean, talking about Solomon, just if I can, blow his whistle
please,
a little bit.
Please.
Solomon, when I call him a national trial attorney, it's not because he earned an award that he puts up on his wall, national trialer, that you can pay for $50. He's a national trialer because he's actually in like 20 different states, has been entered into appearances. He's tried cases in numerous states. So he's a national trialer by merit of actually trying cases nationally. That's why he's there. You can go look at the dockets. That's why I call him a national trial attorney. He probably has appeared in more states than, I would say, many, I don't know, probably 90% of lawyers, because, usually you just practice in the jurisdiction that you're licensed. I've been practicing in Michigan. I just got my license in New Jersey recently. I've been opening up a little bit more there, but now with the YouTube channel, it's been a little more difficult. But I mean, that was the plan. Michigan, New Jersey, okay. But he's been doing civil rights cases all over the country, really. I rarely see him. He has an office right next to mine. He's always every week on a plane into another state fighting for truth and justice. So he really knows his stuff. He's obviously been in the well. He's been trying cases forever. And it's good to get also, like you said, a neutral, objective perspective, someone who really knows the game. And then you just present him certain facts, certain rulings, and he's able to just react to them. And I think, what we saw there was just a truthful, objective reactions to some of the rulings that we've been talking about on the channel. And I mean, that's where he kind of like broke out into this world a little bit in the Karen Reed case. But I'm sure we'll be hearing more from him as more cases go on. Maybe this Karen Reed civil case. There was, just an answer that was filed today. Plan on breaking that down later today, hopefully, on my channel. But I mean, there's news, and we're going to bring him on for sure.
That is awesome, man. Yeah, shout out to him, and his knowledge of federal law as well, I guess, is something we shouldn't ignore. But then this happened, brother Counsel. So I'm wondering if you can discuss this a little bit, and if in Latin, I'd have to read it. Go to the other tab and read it. Okay, it is a what is this called?
Notice of appeal. I can't read it myself. Is it the notice of appeal?
It's called a nolle prosequi. Now comes the Commonwealth in the above and entitled matter, and enters a noelle prosequi. Forgive me, you can pronounce that correctly for the audience, on the matter of mass are criminal, and it cites a statute there. The Commonwealth states that as grounds, therefore, in the interest of justice, requires such filing. So that's interesting language that they really didn't spell it out the way we might think. But please, could you talk about this? Filing.
This is in the Turtleboy, because I can't read it so clear, but I'm assuming it's in Aiden's case or one of the cases.
Yes,
and this is what I saw tweeted out earlier from Mark Betterow.
Yes.
And that is just simply that the prosecution is just dropping the case. I mean, that's what it means in pure English. Null prosecute just means that they're not prosecuting the case anymore. So they're dropping it. It's always good to see that when you believe in your case. I've had a couple of those. When you really are going to win, and they really don't have a chance or a shot, or they don't believe strongly in their case, you'll get that. Very often we hear about plea deals. This is not a plea deal. Sometimes, they'll offer, okay, we don't have such a strong case, we'll offer you the sweetheart deal. That's not what happened here. The case was completely dropped. They're not prosecuting this case, and that's usually only, and I mean, in my experience, in the case that I've had it's only when you are so strong in your position and they are so weak that that's when they choose to bow out in a more respectful way than trying to go to trial or even offering you a deal. So good to see that for Turtleboy. A good win for him. He's got another few cases going, right? So we'll see what happens to those other cases. I don't think this has to do with the McCabe's and the Alberts.
No.
Right. This really most has to do with Lindsay Gattani. So, those are the more serious cases, as to be just honest, right? I mean, the cases where he's facing all of those witness intimidation charges, that's with, the McCabe's and the Alberts. So that's still very serious. And that's, I think, the subject of a motion to dismiss right now. And also, I think that's also part of the motion to disqualify Cosgrove. So a lot more on that case that we're going to see. I think that motion to dismiss was very strong. I broke it down. There's some serious questions about the grand jury over there. What was going on, renaming things. So they may offer him a sweetheart deal. We still have yet to see that, but it's good to see at least this part of the case, or this indictment was dropped.
Bia, if you have something to get in there, otherwise I'm going to ask him if he and his brother discussed. But go ahead.
Well, the only thing I was going to say is right now, do you see any conflict with Morrissey's office dropping this charge, being conflicted out who can actually, if they can proceed with Cosgrove prosecuting him?
Right. So I don't think that this is not going to shed any more light onto that issue. That motion to disqualify Cosgrove because of Lindsay Gattani being a witness. So even though this is a case where Lindsay Gattani was the victim, right, the alleged victim. Yep. These other cases has really, you think about it as separate cases, and therefore whatever happened in this case, whether they felt that the reason why they're dropping is because of the conflict and not because of the merits of the case, maybe they'll posture that way, that because of the conflict, but and they believe that there's no conflict when it comes to the other cases because Lindsay Gattani maybe is not a material witness. Whatever, most likely they're going to argue something like that. And as we saw in the most recent motion to disqualify Cosgrove because of Lindsay Gattani's involvement, Mark Betterill very well, he lays out very clearly why Lindsay Gattani is a material witness, why they're going to need to call her to impeach all the other witnesses, and she's a material witness to the case, whether you like it or not, even though she's not the victim in that case. But still, if she's a witness, then that should disqualify Cosgrove and the entire DA's office. So that issue is still right in front of the court. I don't think that there was an answer filed in that right now. I don't think there's an answer to the motion to dismiss that was filed. So the Commonwealth still has a lot to respond to in terms of the conflict there, and there still may very, very well be a conflict. And if there's a conflict, then they're going to be dropped out of the case, and nobody else is going to prosecute this case. I mean, they would have to have a different DA's office essentially prosecute this case as like a special prosecutor. The AG's offices and from the DOJ, they weren't interested in prosecuting this case. I think most DA's office would not be interested in prosecuting this case because anytime that you're implicating the First Amendment, they don't want to be at the center of that. Why it's an important amendment after all. It's the first one. So, it's an important amendment, the First Amendment. And even though maybe you can spin a theory, a law school type of question about a theory, how this can maybe fit within what you're allowed to prosecute somebody and say that it's not the First Amendment, but it just stinks. We don't want to take away people's right to speak. And even if they speak in a certain fashion that you may not like, and it may be in your face, and it may, as we know, Turtleboy's personality, how he talks. So, but again, if you're going to try to take away someone's ability to speak and speak the way that he wants, of course, there are always the exceptions that we know about, call for violence or things like that. But if it's just getting in people's faces, calling them names, shouting what your theory of the case is, telling people to tell the truth, that's where I think a lot of DA's offices would not be interested in prosecuting this case. So I think once this DA's office, if they get disqualified in this case, nobody else is going to prosecute this case. And then we're going to see something very similar what just happened in the Lindsay Gattani case.
Two questions. Had you ever seen the Morrissey, what they call the hostage video, where he basically assailed? You had. Okay.
Yeah.
And follow up to that is, do you find that to be improper, as Mark and some of your colleagues has said?
Well, I mean, it's questionable whether you're allowed to do that under the rules of professional responsibility. As a prosecutor, as a DA's office, you're not supposed to vouch for credibility of certain witnesses. There's definitely lines that maybe were crossed there that shouldn't have been. And, whether it was an appropriate response that they would probably argue, well, they're putting out this publicity about, how the witnesses are not believable and not credible. So we're able to respond to that. I mean, you're getting very close to rules of professional responsibility, which prosecutors are supposed to be very silent about. They're not really supposed to be making statements like that, like we see sometimes. Hank Brennan, I don't think Hank Brennan made any statements to the to the press until after the verdict.
Yes.
So, like generally speaking, prosecutors are not supposed to be out there advocating for the guilt of somebody. And it was very beautifully in the motion, I think it was a motion to dismiss, where Bettero, kind of laid out the timeline of when that hostage video was released, because of what he alleges in his papers, that Jennifer McCabe was pressuring them to do something, and all the pressure that they were getting from the McCabe's and the Alberts. So, in Bettero's motion, the way he laid it out, that's why that hostage video was released, which again would be improper. You're not supposed to be pressured by citizens or potential witnesses to do something as a prosecutor. So, right. There's definitely, it doesn't smell right. It doesn't pass the sniff test. And I don't know, how, in terms of, prosecuting this under the rules of professional responsibility, what the State Bar in Massachusetts wants to do about it, or if somebody reported it or whatnot. But it definitely doesn't smell right, doesn't pass the sniff test, and, probably shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, it never seems to occur to these people to do the right thing. Like, because you look at this situation, you look at the situation with the grand jury, which, let me get to that. Let me ask you that before I make my statement, which really isn't going to mean much. Had you and Solomon discussed this in terms of giving bearing, I guess, for just to encompass it all, bearing false witness in front of the grand jury, altering evidence? Had you guys discussed this as brothers?
Oh, you mean the Turtleboy's case?
Yes.
So I don't remember specifically if we spoke about it. I know I had him on the show when I had Turtleboy on. So I don't know. It could be we spoke about it during the show. I don't remember exactly. But I mean, there's major problems with it. You cannot. What they presented to the grand jury, I mean, it's an embarrassment. That's not how a grand jury is supposed to go. You don't, first of all, spend an entire day on a charge and also talk about the punishment, by the way, which is also not allowed. You talk about the whole first day was it Scanlon or something? The recording of Scanlon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then just pretend like it never happened. Don't ask for an indictment on that, and don't give a curative instruction. So that I mean, from the beginning of the grand jury proceedings, there's problems, as Mark Bettero, artfully described in his motion. And then it just continues. It just completely goes off the rails with Tully talking about the intent folder and renaming all the episodes.
Yes.
I mean, it was a corrupted grand jury proceeding. There's no question about it. Whether the person is guilty or not is irrelevant. You corrupted the grand jury proceeding, and that's not how we operate in the United States of America. We don't. It's easy enough to indict people, and now you're going to start corrupting the grand jury proceedings. That shouldn't be looked on well. And hopefully the judge will take a very serious approach to that. Maybe have an evidentiary hearing about it. But there's some serious allegations. We haven't seen the response, but there's some real problems there.
And there's a cause of action, at least civilly, against those parties, I would imagine. Just like I was going to say, from a Mike Nifong, remember the Duke Lacrosse? I think he suppressed evidence in that case, and he was jailed.
I'm not intimately familiar with the Duke Lacrosse. I've heard about it, but I don't know specifically. But no, I mean, the question is who knew what, what their excuse is going to be, and what then is going to happen. If you're asking civilly if there's going to be a cause of action, or criminally, will there be charges pressed? You're probably not going to see anything criminally, from these people. And I don't think I don't think Tully's going to be charged criminally. I don't foresee any civil lawsuit, but I mean, bringing this to light in terms of Turtleboy's case, I think he'd be happy and sufficient just to get the indictment thrown out. So I think he'd be quite happy with that and move on with the rest of his life. So I think that's really what they're going for. And, the Commonwealth, we have yet to see the response. We have to see what they're going to respond to that. But some very serious allegations and laid out beautifully with receipts, as everybody likes to call them. So there's some, that entire chart. That chart of all the things all the episodes that they renamed. I mean, it's unbelievable that this goes on, and then no curative instructions are given. It seems like it was very, it was just unprofessional the way it was done, and it makes you question what their motives were.
It doesn't make me question what their motives were, but I'm sure a neutral party might question. Bia, what do you have for Brother Counsel?
They have until the 27th to respond, but then there's that pending disqualification of Cosgrove. So do you potentially see this happening Like, is that a hard deadline for them to respond?
Well, so if they have to respond by the 27th, they have to respond by the 27th. I mean, each motion really you look at separately. So I know Bradel brought this up in, I think it was Karen Reed's phone hearing, where he said, we need to figure out the disqualification before we start moving on with the phone evidence, whether they're going to get Karen Reed's phone, which it looks like they're going to get. And I mean, I think that that's a tremendous mistake by the Commonwealth. If they're going to try to now indict Karen Reed again with a grand jury and link her to Turtleboy now with witness intimidation charges, I mean, it just is such a tremendous, tremendous mistake by the Commonwealth. That's the last thing that you want to do is bring in Karen Reed now with all the crowds and all the support, put her right next to Turtleboy, have 2 shots of cross-examination. I mean, it's just, you question who's making the decisions there. And is this just one big posture? Do they want to just make her feel nervous because, she got acquitted? I don't know what's really going on there. But if this is like a serious attempt to really charge her with witness intimidation, it's just such a terrible, terrible mistake for them. Forget about the public policy of public relations issue that they already have and are going to continue to have if they continue down this road. And all the money they're going to waste, with special prosecutors on this. Massachusetts, obviously, they care very much about your tax dollars, but,
Sure they do.
I mean, just in terms of actually being able to win the case, you bring in Karen Reed now, then here comes Alan Jackson, and now you got Mark Betterow and you got Tim Bradel and Alan Jackson all cross-examining Jennifer McCabe and the Alberts. I mean, is that really what you want? That you think you're going to get a conviction now? Like it's. I mean, this is this is what they're doing. Anyway, I think I'm getting off topic here, but Bradel, Bradel on that motion in that hearing, he said, maybe we should figure out this disqualification part. And Judge Krupp at the time said that no, we're not going to. Each one's a separate motion. And like, as I was breaking this down on my channel, I explained that, if Cosgrove believes that he does not have a conflict, well, then he can work on the case. So if he's got a motion to respond to that has nothing to do with disqualification, he can respond to that motion. So that motion to dismiss, if their response is due the 27th, which I think that's what you said. So then he can be working on it, and he can be looking it over and reviewing it and filing it, and then working on the disqualification until there's a ruling from the court that he's disqualified because there's a conflict, and he believes that there's no conflict as a lawyer. Now, again, if he believes that there's a conflict, then he's got to stop all work. That's no question, right? As a lawyer, you don't have to wait for an order. If there's a conflict and you have a conflict, you believe you're conflicted, you have to stop the work. You cannot work on the files anymore and say, well, I'm going to wait for a judge's order. But if he honestly believes he's not conflicted, so then he can, in good faith, work on any motion that's outstanding and respond. So we'll see. I mean, a lot of times we've been seeing that the date will come and then they'll say we need more time. How many times have we heard that?
Yes. Yeah. I remember that one judge talking about, no, you're not getting another week. That might have been Doolin in one of those Turtleboy hearings said that to Cosgrove when he asked, no, you're not getting another week. You got, but I want to ask you a very direct question about Cosgrove that I haven't had a chance to ask to a lawyer like yourself. If you are Cosgrove, I'm presuming that you have a very, very outstanding command and understanding of the laws, roles, responsibilities, and ethics of a defense attorney, a judge, and a prosecuting attorney or a district attorney. So with that in mind, why would you want to be a special prosecutor in a case where they have presented evidence that before you were hired on, that they falsified evidence to secure an indictment before a grand jury? Why would you, as someone who's a judge and understands all this, why would you want to play defense? Because to me, again, like Hank, it looks like he's playing defense attorney for the Commonwealth. Why would he do that?
Well, okay, first of all, I'll say that I wouldn't just assume this about Cosgrove. I would assume that about any practicing attorney is going to put their name on a pleading. You have to be familiar with the rules. You have to be familiar with the rules of professional responsibility, and you should be acting that way. So, yeah, I mean, there takes a certain level of responsibility before any lawyer files anything on behalf of any client. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do as a lawyer, which is why you can't just pass a bar in order to become a lawyer. You also have to pass the ethics portion, which is not talked about, but that should be talked about. I mean, that's what you have to pass in order to become a lawyer. So there's these principles and rules that are guiding us all as any lawyer. So Cosgrove would be included in all of the lawyers out there. And on top of that, if he's been a judge before, he's been practicing for so many years, you're just held to a higher standard. So look, I mean, like I said, the only way that he should be able to feel that he can prosecute this case is if he in good faith feels that the prosecution was valid, which is why I think perhaps a lot of people felt that if they were offered the case of Karen Reed to prosecute, they wouldn't have prosecuted because they can't do it with a good faith, with a good conscience, that this is a person who actually committed a crime when you have all the evidence in her favor. So, but again, if you ask, what did Hank Brennan do? Well, he must have, I mean, this is what you have to conclude, that he had a good faith basis to believe that he can prove the case and that she's guilty and whatever. So the only way that you can, as Cosgrove, proceed is if you feel that whatever you've seen at the grand jury state is not corrupted, they were mistakes, they could be explained, or innocent mistakes, or whatever it is, and therefore you can continue with the prosecution. That's the only way that he can do it. So I imagine that he's gone through this in his mind, and he's looked at whatever evidence he's looked at, and he's looked at these motions. And we've had in other cases where special prosecutors will remove themselves from the case. They'll withdraw. We've had this actually, if you remember, I don't know if you were following, but we had this with the Rust case. Remember when?
Yes, of course.
With Alec Baldwin, they had Carrie Morrissey, right? And it was somebody else. There's another attorney that she brought on to help. Mm-hmm. And then when it was discovered, actually in the middle of trial, that there was certain evidence that they was buried, mm-hmm. she withdrew from the case. And that's what you expect to do from special prosecutors.
Yes, I remember that now. I forgot all about that because we're all thinking about Carrie Morrissey on the stand being cross-examined by Alec Baldwin's attorney, and we forget that the other lawyer recused herself, or whatever you want to call it.
She withdrew because, I mean, she was brought on, I think, part of the special prosecution team. She didn't know about a certain piece of evidence. Once she found out about it, she said, I can't in good faith prosecute this case anymore. So whenever a prosecutor crosses that line, as soon as they get to that line where, hey, I didn't know about this, you guys are not being honest with me, or look at this evidence you never showed me, or look at this, or something that I didn't know about the grand jury proceedings and now I do. At any time, they have the responsibility to say, okay, I'm withdrawing from the case. So again, the only way that Cosgrove can continue with this case is if he feels that there's really solid explanations to all this. They're all innocent mistakes. They're all coincidences. And there was nothing nefarious, if I can say, borrow a term, with that. So that's the only way you can do it.
You're so much more of a nicer person than I am. Because well, first of all, Hank, I don't think is honest. And I think he was hired because he's not honest. I've said that to you before on air. And in the case of Cosgrove, I'm holding him to a higher standard because he was a judge. And I don't know. It just feels like these guys are more playing defense attorney for the Commonwealth. For what reason? I don't know. Because I can't put my name on something like that. I just couldn't.
Okay. I mean, then you would not be able to prosecute the case.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Unless he's just like, this guy Turtleboy is so offensive that I'm going to do this regardless. And I'm going to mortgage my ethics and values and what I know to be jurisprudence, over this. But
right. Okay. I mean, but again, you can, as a prosecutor, you can feel that the person is guilty as sin. It could be that this special prosecutor thought that Alec Baldwin was guilty, but when she saw that something happened that she didn't agree with, or that there was evidence that was hidden, and she felt that this wasn't turned over, whatever it was, then she said, okay, I cannot prosecute a case that has that as part of it. She can feel that Alec Baldwin is guilty of sin. It doesn't matter. I can't prosecute this case if this is the type of shenanigans that are going on. So whether Cosgrove feels that Turtleboy is a piece of garbage and should be thrown in prison for whatever because he doesn't like him or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If you see something that as a prosecutor rubs you the wrong way, that this should have never been done, and there's corruption of the grand jury proceedings, then you have a duty to withdraw, whether you like the guy or not, whether you think the guy's guilty or not. You still have a duty to withdraw, I would think. So, yeah.
What's that channel, Bia, that he was on with the New York district attorney, the lady Baden and so forth?
Justice Served TV.
Yeah, Mark lays out how the Sallyport video basically lined up like the ammunition in the Rust movie set, the case against Alec Baldwin, and Mark lays out how he thought that was the moment. Trial's over. They manipulated evidence, And when it wasn't, he's just like, what world are we in right now? But
well, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot more to that. I mean, it's not just that they manipulated it, but it's that it was sitting in Proctor's folder for 3 years or 2 years, whatever it was. That's the part where it seems like someone was trying to bury it. I mean, that's what happened in the Russ case. That somebody provided ammunition and it was buried. It was put under a different case number or something.
Yes.
So so it's much worse than, oh, it was an inverted video and all of our videos are inverted and that's just the way that it records. It's much worse than that. This is where there was 2 years where it was just hidden in Proctor's folder. Whether it was a mistake or not, Judge Cannone didn't care to find out, which in that motion to dismiss, the first thing that you should have done as a judge is hold an evidentiary hearing and try to find out, why was this not turned over 2 years ago? What happened? Was this a mistake or not? And in that opinion, where Judge Cannone said, we're just going to deny the motion outright and not hold any evidentiary hearings. She had so many things where apparently she said, and apparently this, apparently that, apparently the other thing. Well, instead of being apparently, why don't we have an evidentiary hearing and see whether we understand actually what happened and stop guessing and assuming, So, but that's why that opinion was very troubling to me when I was reading it for the first time, that there's so many guesses and assumptions that she's making and benefit of the doubt, which you can't do when you have someone's life on the line, like Karen Reed was facing life in prison. You can't do that. They have a Sixth Amendment right. They have a constitutional rights that have to be protected. And if this type of stuff is going on, you got to get to the bottom of it before you put this person on trial. So
no grave concerns there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's grave concerns there. We're not going to start rehashing all the grave concerns that we had over Judge Cannone's rulings in those cases. But we're starting to see some rulings in the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case also, which, which is almost like the judge is telling Judge Cannone, hold my beer.
She has a lot, like I've said this to Bia, she has a long way to go to get to all the things that Judge Cannone did, from voir direing some people, not others, evidentiary hearings, not recusing herself, that she had rented her cottage to the Nagels before the trial, even pretrial motions, just that on and on, wouldn't let Mark Betterow join Pro Hoc Vice. I mean, this woman had a right to defend herself. What if she would have gone to prison, and that could have been another cause for appeal? There's any number of a dozen things, if she would have been convicted, they could have appealed on. But
I agree.
Yeah, that woman has a little ways to go till she reaches a Cannone level. But yeah, maybe she's saying hold my beer. As you I guess this is as perfect a transition as any over to Kelsey Fitzsimmons. But before we even look at this, I'd like to ask you, when you first heard this case, what is it that struck you about the elements of this case that you knew as a legal professional that you found curious or out of order? So
actually, the way I got started in this case is I actually just reached out. I think it was after, maybe it was a Jewish holiday. I don't remember if it was right after Passover or a different Jewish holiday where I was gone, or maybe it was after a vacation. I forgot exactly what it was, but I was gone for like a week. And I reached out to all my Twitter followers and I said, hey, what's been going on? What do you guys want me to look into? What do you want me to talk about? And overwhelmingly, the answer was Kelsey Fitzsimmons. I was like, who's Kelsey Fitzsimmons? So I started looking into that case, and it was very hard to actually initially find documents on that case. And I saw something from Melanie Little. She had a video about Kelsey Fitzsimmons initially, going back a couple weeks, where she was covering some of the opinions, I think it was, on the initial bond. I forgot exactly everything, but that's what really brought me into the case. And then I actually listened because Jess Machado posted the actual hearing of that revocation, I guess you can call it, of her bond. And then I listened to that and I was like, whoa, there's something really, really off. I mean, just by listening to that hearing. And then when you actually look into the law and do some research, which is what I always like to do, you start to see some more issues cropping up. And then, as I was following it, you got the motion for reconsideration that was filed, and then that was denied. And then you got the appeal to the single justice, and then that was denied. And now they're going to the full panel, which is good. And hopefully the full panel will make the right decision here.
Now, can I ask you, in regards to the difference between the single panel and the full panel, will they see the same information, or will they get additional information such as a copy of, what went down, or is it just the transcript? Do you know anything about that?
Right. So they should get all the same information. As far as I know, they should get all the same information, but they do have the opportunity, both sides have the opportunity to brief it again. and they can add additional arguments or make additional arguments, which I pointed out some that I think they should include, which we have, it hasn't been filed yet, so I don't know if they took my advice or not, but I think that there's some additional arguments that could have been made, should have been made, and maybe will be made at the full panel level. And, kind of when you see that's what happens when you go up to certain levels of appeals, as long as you preserve the issue, so then you can start, you can make different types of arguments at different levels of the appeals. Usually, you try to make them all as you're going up, but sometimes a judge will give you some ideas about, hey, this one's not going to work because of, whatever it is. Or if the judge says, this is the reason why I'm denying it, which is what happened in this case, the single justice opinion, then you can say, well, that's wrong because of, all this additional research. So that I think what we'll see is a more perhaps robust brief by Tim Bradel, by that firm. And we'll see, most likely we'll see some additional arguments, but in terms of the record, the transcript, everything that they have access to, I believe they're going to have the same access to the same materials as that they had at the single justice level.
And where do you think the ADA accommodations that Kelsey didn't receive fall towards anything that went on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a decent argument. They made that. It wasn't really addressed in the opinion by the single justice. But I think that that's, it's a decent argument. As the judge, you're supposed to take anyone's disabilities into account when you're issuing rulings. I think there's a more significant issue, but yeah, I mean, you can definitely add that to the brief. I don't know if that's the strongest, argument, but I think there's some other significant arguments, but that definitely was, I read it. I think it's good to include that. And I think it's a good point that he made in terms of taking that into account. So yeah, I mean, that's another reason why she has to be given a little bit of the same opportunities that are afforded to a regular criminal defendant who's not suffering from, a bullet hole in her chest or whatever. So then, broken ribs. So then you have to figure out to give the same accommodations to this person who is disabled. So yeah, I think that that's a decent argument.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Brother Counsel, what do you think I realize I'm going to ask you kind of like step out of your attorney suit right now and kind of put on like the college sweater like Mark Betterow does. You know what I mean? The AZ State sweater.
He said he doesn't own sweaters or jeans. I was paying attention.
I don't own jeans. I own sweaters.
Well, hockey's called a sweater, so I know he has sweaters.
Yes, I do have hockey sweaters. I'm actually playing hockey tonight. So I'm not going to be wearing that jersey in the back, though, or a sweater, whatever you want to call it. But I do have some sweaters. I don't have jeans. I don't own a pair of jeans. Maybe one day I will, but I don't right now. I'm mostly in suits every day unless I'm going to do something and playing. So then I'll change into, some sweatpants or something. But mostly if you're seeing me hanging around my house, I'm going to be wearing either a suit. I may even take off my jacket and loosen my tie.
That's awesome. I also don't have jeans, so it's all good. What do you, I have slacks, I wear slacks. So that's what I wear every day, or shorts to work out. Do you, I guess we should get into this real quick before I ask you to go into regular person mode in your analysis of the case. Do you have like a workout routine that you do for hockey?
Well, I mean, I don't have such a workout routine before for hockey.
Mm-hmm.
I pay for it after probably. Definitely as I'm getting older, I'm 40 years old. So, when I was 28, it was different, but I'm starting to feel a little bit more, but usually I'm just, I'm so minute to minute my entire day that I'm running to the rink, throwing on my gear and hopefully doing a few quick stretches before we get out there and go, full steam. So I'm not doing it. I probably should be doing it, but the extent of my exercise is just on the ice. That's my exercise really, which is why I don't play baseball really that much or softball, because if I'm going to be taking off the time, I need to be really exercising and getting my workout. So that's done with ice hockey. I play about 2 or 3 times a week.
Wow.
And,
awesome.
when I do have a tournament actually coming up, and for the tournament, it's like 5 games in one day. So that I actually do have to stretch. And prepare my body for a little bit better than just throwing on the air and getting out there. So, but other than that, besides the tournaments, it's just minute to minute, run to the rink, throw on your clothes, throw on your gear, and get out there. So
if you're a personal trainer in Michigan within the next 5 years, you should be hearing from Brother Counsel to have a, interseason routine that he does, in preparation. You know what I mean?
That would definitely be helpful to have a personal trainer right here in the office, right next to me, so I don't have to go anywhere and waste more time. But yeah,
love it. Minute to minute. Okay, brother Counsel, if you can take off the sweater for a minute. What are we missing in this case? What are we not seeing that has caused the police from her own department and the DA to act in this manner?
Are you talking about the judge treating her, or are you talking about the DA's office prosecuting her? I mean, it's always a little bit sticky when you have two police officers on the other side. They want to be there for both police officers. A lot of times you see them sticking up for the police officers. So here they got to throw one of them under the bus, and apparently they chose Kelsey in this case. Now, at the time, she was an easier target. She was coming off of postpartum. She was just trying to get her life back together. I mean, she was with her child. I think she got her gun back already, right? So, I'm not, where exactly she was with her leave of absence or her leave, but it seems like she was making a comeback.
Yeah.
And then, and we don't know any sort of connections that her fiance said, had. I think he was a firefighter, right?
Yep.
So, we don't know if he had any connections, but, the easier target there would be her. These other police officers responded to the scene on a call, whether it was legitimate or not, or whether it was, made up by the fiance or whatever. But, they're in uniform, they're coming there, and they've got to pick one of them. And it seems like in this case, they just picked the wrong one. And once you pick one, it's like almost like the prosecution with Karen Reed. Once they decided to prosecute her, it's almost like they couldn't stop, even though, time after time they kept getting, seeing more evidence that she's not guilty. So, it seems like they chose their battle, and then they're just sticking with it. And hopefully she'll get a sweetheart deal. I mean, that's, I guess, what we're hoping for. I mean, we'd love for them to dismiss all the charges, I guess, definitely for Kelsey Fitzsimmons, but, it's getting a lot more attention, which is good. I think specifically with this issue, and again, I've always said, I don't know exactly the merits. I hear that it's he says, she says. I'm not sure how you can win on a he says, she says. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. So I'm not exactly sure how they intend on proving their case, because from what I understand, it was only was Officer Noonan and her, and the other police officers were not. They weren't even there. So who exactly is going to testify that, yes, she was the one pointing the gun? It's going to be Officer Noonan. She's going to testify that she was not pointing the gun at him. So it's he says, she says. How in the world do you get beyond that to prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt? I'm not sure. You could have experts coming in there and I guess somehow surveying the scene, or I don't know exactly, but it seems like a very difficult case for them to win. So
it's a failure of procedure, because you shouldn't have asked her, hey, go grab your gun and give it to me. Well, so now I have a 50-50 shot of what you're going to do when you grab that gun.
Is that what happened? Because I didn't even know that's what happened. Is that what happened?
They allowed her to get her gun without saying, hey, tell an officer where your weapons are. We're going to secure those weapons. Then we're going to have you go pack a bag for the baby, and etc.
So I think when this happened, it was when she went to pack the baby stuff.
The baby stuff.
That's what I'm saying is,
yeah.
Did they tell her to pack the baby stuff, or did they tell her to go get your weapons? Which one? I mean, I don't know. I don't even know.
I think it was she asked to go pack the baby's belongings.
Right. And then she somehow came back with a gun. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, look, yeah. I mean, still at the end of the day, it's going to come back to, well, did she point the gun at him or not? And who's going to say that she did? One, Officer Noonan. Who's going to say that she didn't? She's going to say that she didn't. So, I mean, how are you going to win that case? I mean, when it's preponderance of the evidence, a little bit easier, but beyond a reasonable doubt, I'm not sure what other evidence they have. So, but beyond that, I mean, getting beyond the merits of the case, I mean, like the process here, or the lack of due process here is what's really bothering me. What's bothering me here more than anything is the fact that this was a motion that was filed by Bradel. This wasn't a motion that was filed by, the probation department, that someone's violating their bond and putting the issue in front of the court. This is Bradel filing a motion, a very simple motion, just to modify her release restrictions. That's it. And then all of a sudden, before she knows it, she's locked up. That's not how due process works. It's constitutional problem. So, when you have procedural issues, or you have some other issues that doesn't rise to a level of constitutional concerns, it's a different story. But here, and I think maybe that we're going to be seeing this more in this new appeal coming, there's a very strong constitutional violation here, I think, that the judge made, which is why it requires reversal. It's not just, I read the statute this way, you read the statute that way. Which there's also, I have concerns with the way that the judge is reading the statute, because if you look at the statutes here that are involved, there's 2 statutes. And one statute is about when someone has been arrested and they want to get released. So there's a dangerous hearing, there's other hearings that have to happen. That's what one statute is about. And there's the other statute is once somebody's out on bond, then in order to revoke that person's bond, that's where the other statute is. And what Bradel did in his first appeal to the single justice, he just essentially focused on, look, this is a revocation. I mean, this is what it is. So therefore, the other statute is the one that we have to look at. And the only way that you can revoke someone's bond is if they violated the release conditions, which there was no violation here. So if you analyze it using the other statute, which I think is 58B, if you analyze it with that statute, well, then it's very clear that there was no violation and the judge made a very obvious error. So definitely abuse of discretion when you don't understand the statute. But what this judge tried to do is this judge tried to read what she did into the first statute. And the first statute, in my opinion, only has to do with somebody who is already been arrested, already been detained. And now you want to get that person out. So I don't think that applies to her case at all. Regardless of that, even if she would want to try to apply that other statute, which we call 58A, I think it's 58A, I think that's what it is. But even if you want to apply that statute, well, when you're actually when you're taking someone's liberty away and your person's has not been arrested, has not been detained, he's already been released or she's been released, you want to take away the liberty, then you can't just look at the statute because there's constitutional concerns there. And the judge can't just ignore the Constitution and say, well, I'm just looking at the statute. You have to run an analysis, which the judge did not do in this case. Constitutionally, what you have to do is when there is something that involves the Constitution, you have to run through the analysis showing why what you're doing is constitutional. That's what you have to do, which wasn't done. So the whole constitutional element here was completely ignored, which is why I think that if they bring up that issue to the full panel, I think they're going to take a very different look at it than the single justice did. Because again, in the first appeal, the constitutional issue was not brought up. It was more look at the other statute because that's really what happened here was a revocation, and don't look at the first statute. And the judge said, well, we can look at the first statute, even though I think that was still incorrect. But even if you look at the first statute, there's still constitutional concerns. So that's where I think that this is going to lead us all, where they have to look at the constitutional issues here, due process, 14th Amendment, strict scrutiny, all this good lawyer stuff. And they're going to have to, figure out whether what the judge did was constitutional.
I just want to say thank you. Blurry Lights, I didn't get to recognize you earlier because we were in the midst of introducing Brother Counsel. Thank you, because it was literally just when he came on. Thank you very much for the $5 dono. I really appreciate that. And if you would hit the like and subscribe button for those that are in the chat, we would also appreciate that. And as you can see, scrolling across the screen is Brother Counsel's amazing YouTube, where he will break down these cases in the most expedient manner. If you your YouTube watching is time sensitive, this is the guy that you want to go and watch.
I think I talk too quickly, don't I?
No, there are a lot of times, right now I'm on furlough from the US GOV as my primary employer. So I have time to watch YouTube now, but during the week I don't. And if I want to find out what is going on legally in these cases, I go to your channel and I can get it in 30 to 35 minutes. I've got it.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. And you know who else used to get it that way?
Who's that?
Robert Alessi.
Yeah, that's right. Robert Alessi called you. That's right. He loves your channel. They need to be on. There's so many people. When you and Mark were on, forget about you being on this show. I don't need to self-aggrandize. When he came on your show, it was just amazing. It's amazing when you two guys get together. And when you did come on here, I was like, Brother Counsel, take it away, man. Just interview Mark. And it was just awesome, man. Shutting up was never so great. So
Yeah, no, I love Mark. I mean, I think we should do more shows together also. I mean, he's
yes,
yeah, I mean, his analysis is always spot on. I mean, I don't have to sing his praises, I don't have to give him my stamp, of approval. He's already earned it. And I'd love to have him on. I love having conversations with him. We talk offline also, just
Yeah.
about different things, different cases, different ideas and theories. So yeah, we definitely have to have him more on. I'd love to, and I'd love to be on with him wherever he is. So if you're going to have Mark on your show and you're watching this, invite Brother Counsel also. It'll be fun.
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't heard back from him. I wanted to get him on also. But irrespective, like I said, like we don't like invite people on this show to draw views. We invite people on the show because we want to enter into great or listen to great conversation or partake in great conversation. And if views come, that's great. I've had people at shows where almost nobody watched and had a ball and had a great conversation. So yes, we would love to have you on. I want to see him on your show, like on a regular basis. I would love to see Mark as a regular guest on Brother Counsel. And most certainly, maybe in the future, I'll hit you up and see if we can connect you and Mark on here. That would be great. But I just want to see you guys together.
Look, anywhere Mark is, I would be happy to join wherever Mark is. I mean, even if I don't know what the case is, I'll pretend that I do.
What do you see in terms of our, as long as we're here, we've got about 9 minutes left and we're going to get Brother Counsel out of here. What do you see when you look at Mark as a fellow attorney? What do you see? When you watch how he operates?
What I look at when I'm evaluating lawyers is, number one, I look at their writing. Writing to me, if you don't know how to write, you're not a lawyer. So legal research and writing, which is one of the first classes you take in law school, which is actually probably, to me, perhaps the most important class that you take. And it's a required class. And there's an advanced one, which I took also. But that's really where you can really make your bread and butter as a lawyer. I mean, that's really where, let's see if this person knows how to research, knows how to analyze, knows how to present arguments in their writing. And that's number one. And when you look at his motions and you look at how he wrote them and the research that he's done and how he presents his arguments, how he lays it out, I mean, it's a real art. And it's something that I saw also, by the way, in the Karen Reed case. I mean, Eliza Little, I'm not sure if she was doing all the writing, but most of the writing there was done extremely well. Robert Alessi, anytime that he would file anything, I mean, the writing itself is really what you can win your arguments on. You can file something with the court, get up there and not even know how to argue the case, to argue an oral argument, and you can still win every motion because your writing is so great and the judge is going to the judge can't ignore that. So the number one thing to me about Mark is his writing and his research ability and the way that he presents arguments in his writing. And on top of that, once you get up there and you hear him argue and he's so articulate and he presents it, well, and he's able to deal with judges' questions and work, good on your feet when the other side brings up stuff that you're not prepared for or whatever it is. So that's also, now I haven't seen Mark try a case. I'd love to, because everything in my bone and in my body says that, he'd be an amazing trial lawyer also, but I haven't seen him try a case, and that's a whole different skill. I love to see, again, lawyers who are able to present their case to a jury, make it palatable, break it down, make it simple. What I try to do on my channel is to break everything down so that every single person can understand, what we're talking about, the significance of what we're talking about, what's an important issue, what's not an important issue. And if you're able to present that in a clear and concise way to a jury, then that also just, it makes me impressed with who you are as a lawyer. So, I haven't seen that from Mark. I'm sure he does it well. I saw the way he presents in his oral argument, which is great. And, so there's nothing, again, like I said, I don't have to give my stamp to this, to Mark.
Sure.
He's been a lawyer for many years. He was worked as a prosecutor for many years, which means that he was trying cases all the time. So I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if he really knows how to try a case. But these are the skills that impress me: writing and research, presenting your arguments to court, to a judge. And then on top of that is being able to present your case to a jury. And then of course, then there's cross-examination, which is a whole nother, skill that has to be learned. Again, I haven't seen that from Mark, but from what I've seen, I'm sure that he's masterfully, at that also. So, I love to see a trial with Mark. I really love to. So if Turtleboy's case goes to trial, I'll be front and center watching every minute of that case. But those are the skills that impress me. So everything that I've seen from Mark so far is just, extremely impressive. And then when I talk to him, offline or even, when we're on a show, okay, obviously we're supposed to know what we're talking about.
Sure.
But even off of the show, I mean, look, as a lawyer, just so you should all know, as a lawyer, I was taught early on, it doesn't really matter what you say. It's how confidently you say it. So, you cannot know what you're talking about, but if you say it with confidence, the judge actually may buy it. So, but that's something that I can already sniff out. So offline, when lawyers are talking to lawyers, and I talk to Mark offline all the time, that's when you really just have regular, normal conversations with somebody, and you see how brilliant they are, and you see how smart they are. And that's when you're really bouncing ideas off each other or talking about the cases that are going on just offline. That's when you really see how smart the guy is. And that's what I've seen also. So, as a guy, online, offline, watching him in court, reading his stuff, reading his legal research and writing, I mean, it's just, not more than there's nothing I can say that would, overdo it with him.
Sure. Same. What you said stands for the military aviation community. If you're getting a flight evaluation, your evaluator asks you a question during the eval. It's as long as you say it confidently, you can be wrong. But if you say it in the right way, you might get over. It's like, wow, this guy sounds like he knows his stuff. One thing I was going to let Boston Bia drop some knowledge on you that you might not have known, that is an element of this case that's a little bit salacious and involves Justin. That
is Justin
is
the
out
fiance?
there now. Justin the fiance. Go ahead. I'll lay it on about the.
Let me hear.
Go ahead, Bia.
Which one, DJ?
The girl,
rip them off.
the young lady who posted online. Do you know this guy?
Oh, okay. So there was I guess there was a website that showed a picture of Justin in a hot tub with this lady saying, I have been dating this guy. And he says he's going to be gone for 3 months or not available. And it was a picture of Justin, who this lady was, asking if anybody knew who he was.
Who's my boyfriend type website?
Yes.
Who am I dating? It's basically it.
Wow.
Yes.
And when was that?
It was before she had the baby.
Oh boy.
Around the time she was getting ready to have the baby.
And tell the narrative, what she wrote in there.
The
guy I'm dating says that he's going to go dark for 3 months beginning in March. When I asked him why, he wouldn't tell me. Does anybody know this guy?
Wow. I mean, I think someone should follow up on that.
I'm sure Bradel has a PI that's all over that stuff. And I hadn't seen the guy, and I it's kind of a cautionary tale because my supposition, and this is not to cast any aspersion on Kelsey, there were probably signs that this guy was the kind of guy that he is before he went and he filed that in the courts to get custody of the child, because now he's trying to attach himself to the proceeds of her home. He's trying to get 18 years worth of child support up front. So the kind of, and forgive the word, the kind of scumbag that this guy is, I think, and I said, Bia, I have not seen this guy. I'm guessing he's a tall drink of water. And then she sends me a couple photos of her, of Kelsey and Justin. And of course he is, he's that top fireman archetype. And then she sends me where apparently during the her what would you call it? Her engagement with Justin, he was dating another woman, and she was trying to find out if anyone knew his story. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I remember during the Karen Reed case, I'd be brought on to certain shows and they would start talking about information that I was not aware of, or that's not in the court filing, and I'd always tell everybody, look, what you may be saying, it may be true, maybe not true, but I mean, it's definitely interesting to hear. And if the prosecution or the defense, were listening, they should follow up, whatever, but I mostly concentrate what I see in the court filing. Kelsey Fitzsimmons has been a little bit difficult, but I mean, if this is all pans out, I mean, that's some serious stuff there.
Yeah.
Some, good stuff on Justin, and, the fact that he's trying, he has custody, number one. And number two, that he's trying to attach her house so that she can't sell her house for the legal proceeds, for the proceeds to go pay for her legal defense. That's unfortunate, and I think we saw the same thing with Karen Reed, right? I think she sold her house in order to pay for costs or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is what people need when, you need good, solid legal representation, and not everyone can work pro bono like Alan Jackson. Once I make, couple $1 million, maybe I can start working pro bono on these exciting cases. But, until then, lawyers have to get paid. We have bills to pay. And we have, for every client that's asking us to do pro bono, we've got 5 others are willing to pay us, so it's for Kelsey Fitzsimmons, and she needs a guy like Tim Bradle. She needs good attorneys to get her out of this. And hopefully they will, but it takes money, and it's just unfortunate what's going on with her.
Yeah.
So, anyone who's listening, I don't know if you got her, legal fund posted or whatever it is, but everyone,
Yes.
if you can, you definitely got my thumbs up to donate to her fund. And, again, this is merits aside, everyone's presumed innocent. Every single person is entitled to a defense, so, and especially what's happening to right now, she's being railroaded. I mean, this is unconstitutional in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely right now, she needs the support. She should get the support, and then hopefully everyone will support her.
Yeah, I went to the first standout that we had here at the North Andover Police Department on Saturday. And, a sergeant came over who knows both parties, and she's torn. She has nothing but good things to say about everyone involved. And she was really appreciating our support for being out there and standing there with our signs. And then there was somebody in a firefighter outfit in a car who was taking pictures of us as we're, standing there with our signs. So
you're always going to have the other side taking pictures. So get ready for that. And then someone's going to be posting it online and probably changing it to make you look bad. So that just goes with the territory, right? I mean, you're doing the right thing. So if you feel like you're doing the right thing, there's always going to be people that are against you. So don't let it.
He's acting like he's the FBI. We're standing out for Kelsey, dummy. We don't care if you're a firefighter with Justin. Here I am. What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, sometimes that can turn into witness intimidation, so be careful.
Right.
I mean, if you bring ducks, for sure, but
right.
He's probably thought he was going to intimidate these guys, and that's what all these people try to do. Chris Albert tries to do it. We hear about it in Canton. We talk to people who live in Canton, Martin, and you would be surprised. Maybe you're not surprised, actually. We've talked to Dennis Sweeney and John Camo, and they let us know the tactics they use to try to intimidate these guys. But they're not moving, and they're not changing their dress, and they're still going to go walk their dog. And, you just got to not be – it's hard, but you just got to not be scared. It's like I'm sure you've stood up to bullies. This is no different. Same thing.
Got it.
Anyway, thank you very much, everybody. Sorry we couldn't get to your questions. We had a limited amount of time with Martin, but it was an honor and a pleasure to have you on again. And I hope in the near future we can get you on or get you and Mark on and here you guys just cut it up and we'll just zip it up. All right.
Sounds good to me. Thanks again, DJ. Can I just have one of those round of applause again? Because I mean, that's what I'm here for.
Yay!
Brother Counsel, Martin Radner. We want to see him on a dream team with Mark Betterow in the courtroom near you.
That would be amazing. I would definitely be all over that. I would do it pro bono if Mark would join me on a case. Maybe we should just pick one case and just do it together for the fun of it.
Yes, that's what I want to see. And somebody will be the benefactor of that, and they will be found innocent. So thank you, Martin. Again, take care. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was none other than Brother Counsel.
He's so good.
He is,
love
man.
Him.
He is. I love that guy. So awesome. So much appreciate his time. And yeah, we can try and get he and Betterow on again, but I'm going to have to use him to help to get to Betterow because Betterow must get, I mean, I've got his phone number and all that, but he must get just like a gazillion requests to come on shows. And
sometimes it's just catching him when he needs to, like he was on Melanie this afternoon and he alluded to the fact that he was in the middle. He called it, he had his crayons out.
Yeah.
So, so that means that he's out there doing, he's doing his legal work, and then we'll take the break and jump on a YouTube live. So it was funny. So yeah.
I didn't get to recognize the official attorney of Calling All Beings is in the chat. It's Val Halaw,
Val.
the retired Massachusetts attorney. So hello, Val, and welcome from being here. Like I said, he had a very limited amount of time today, so we couldn't spend too much. But since you and I had some discussions about this, and for all of you that are out there that are single and dating, I think that there is, and I haven't found the Kelsey fundraiser. I was looking for it to put it in here, but I can put it in the show notes. I'll put it in the show notes for YouTube. I got to redo the put Brother Counsel stuff in the show notes for YouTube and the podcast, which will be out tomorrow. And yeah, I wish we could hear more of Kelsey, is what Jen is saying. Thank you, Jen. Also, Jay Coop, Terry, for Weird Debbie M, for all of your awesome contributions during the show. We've seen it all. There's a limited amount you can get to with asking and answering questions. And Thomas T, thank you very much. Debbie Blair, Mother, is that Mother Roots? Mother Roots. So thank you everybody that's here. 3 Clark Monty with always some great commentary. But Pia, there's a cautionary tale here that we think probably surfaced during the dating, during the courtship, and during the engagement. Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is that, sometimes when you're dating someone, you're so in love and you're in the moment that you kind of overlook a lot of red flags. And I think sometimes love can be blinding, whereas, you want to believe, you see signs, but then you ignore them. And then you get to a point where you're so, you're knee deep into this relationship. Now you're having a baby. Now you're getting married, and the excitement of it all. There are things that, you may have, red flags you may have overlooked.
And there's the only qualifier I have, because I agree with everything that Bia said, is there is a difference. I think what happens, because I listened to a podcast about this from a woman who was a very religious woman. Her family described her as a late 20s, early 30s catch, someone that was beautiful and intelligent, and guys were constantly falling for her. And she was looking for a very godly Christian man, and that was very handsome and seemed accomplished. And she found somebody like that. The problem is that the guy, and I want you guys to listen close to this, the guy wasn't who and what he said he was. He's one of those guys that works from home, and we know when somebody says they work from home, unless you're standing there looking at their laptop, you don't know what the hell they're doing, right? And they had the wedding scheduled, and they had already had joint bank accounts. And at one point he had taken her dog for a walk, the dog that was going to be coming into marriage, and he kicked her dog during the walk. And that all these red flags, a dog that she loved, but that was just one. And some of her friends are kind of like, hey, I don't know, Andrea. I mean, so the point, what I'm getting at is, you can be dating someone and think you're in love, but you're really not. And that you can have a checklist of things. Okay, let's see. Tall, check. Dark hair, check. Fireman, check. Or professional, somebody in med school or law school, check. So everybody has a different checklist. Some people like people that are trades. I want someone who's a manly man, hunter, fisherman, check. Whatever your checklist has on it, you can. And the podcast I was telling you about, I cannot find it again, but this girl and her family had to go to great lengths to chase this guy away and to disconnect his life from her life right before the wedding. And it was nearly like a harrowing tale, where the mother and the father are screeching up to the house and telling him to leave. It was nuts. So the point I bring all this up is that you can think you're in love with somebody. You're really not. You're really infatuated with their resume. It's just like me. I'm in my job, I'm doing some hiring right now. And you can become infatuated with someone's resume, but then the person doesn't actually meet up with the resume. And when you see those red flags, Bia, what do you do?
Well, I mean, you have to ask questions, and eventually, if this is not what you want in your life, then walk away.
Be honest, baby or no baby,
Right.
because just because you had a baby with him doesn't mean this is going to work out. And how do we know that all this is the case, that there was signs? Well, we know because now that it's been uncovered and Bia brought it to us in the show, that he was actually dating somebody else months and months ago, back in well, it would have been before March because this happened in June. So this is a couple probably around when the baby was born. I don't know how old the baby was, but very, very scary
Right.
situation.
This was around her due date.
It was
Which,
around her due. Okay,
right.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cautionary tale, don't have a checklist. Life is not made. I mean, you're talking, I'm a former aviator. We live and die by the checklist, but in life and in relationships, run for the, yeah, this is from Iron Maiden. Thank you. We're Debbie M. Run to the hills. Great song from Iron Maiden. I can't remember which album that was. But yes. So, or you can get yourself in this situation, because this act of him playing her, telling her to go to the park and wait there for me while he's going and get a court order. This is not the first thing like this that he's done. This is just the first thing we know about. And in court, I feel like we're going to hear a lot more about it. Maybe we want to read what Kimberly, or do you want me to read what it says?
I can read it. I told my daughter that somebody can hide crazy for only so long. Don't date anybody for less than 1.5 years before deciding to commit to them.
Yeah, and we just talked about that with another friend of ours who just began dating, right? We were having that conversation. So,
right.
Yeah, it's, let's see, that was bull. Definitely. Yeah. So I'm saying is I think there were events, and this is not to cast any blame on
or judgment.
Kelsey,
Yeah.
or judgment on Kelsey. This is basically saying, thank you. This is basically saying, and I will also put her defense fund when I find it in the show notes for both this and the podcast. I was remiss. This should have been pinned to the top of the chat. So I apologize that, can you find it? See if you can find it.
Yes.
And put it in the private chat. And I got my kipper on because always I wear my kippa when we have on Brother Counsel. Because I'm a Jewish brother and I want to represent for the family. Jewish Italian, go figure. But yeah, it's I think signs were there. Signs were probably ignored, and she probably had no idea how crazy this guy was and how vindictive and spiteful, because she probably can't imagine that she bought this home for $400,000+, and this guy, thank you, The Number of the Beast. That's right. It was a great album before Peace of Mind. I saw that to her. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for stopping in, love. Appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you.
I
for
sent
being
it to you on X.
Oh, okay. You could have put it in the comments here.
But I'm using my
you're
phone,
not on here. Yeah.
So now,
Okay.
listen,
All right.
I can only do so much.
There's only so much I could do here.
Right, dude?
Yeah, let me find that on X for Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Oh, okay. The link is okay. There it is. It's a
her
send go.
defense.
Yep.
Her defense fund is up to $30,062.
Awesome.
So
this is great. Yeah, let me put this in the chat.
We raised some funds this week at Nacho Night, which was great, and then we did the stream on Saturday. Right? Was it Saturday night?
Yep. You guys raised a lot at the Nacho Night, and also Mazza raised a lot.
Yep.
I'll make sure. Fitzsimmons Defense Fund. There we go. Only I'm putting capital letters where they need not be. Defense Fund. Okay. And put that there. Okay. Oh my God. I literally just put this in the chat. Idiot. That's where I was looking for it in the comments. There it goes. Okay, there it is. You've got it there. If you guys have anything to donate, I'm waiting to get off furlough before I donate. I still owe Mikey from his defense fund for super chats and all that. So, I got some stuff to donate to once I start getting paid again. Julie Hess is the attorney Kelsey has added to her team. Awesome. I don't know anything
Yeah.
about Julie Hess. That
So
sounds good.
tomorrow, so the habeas, that she was approved to go to the family court tomorrow. She does have her separate attorney. I did hear that Brado was going to be in attendance, but she has court tomorrow regarding the house and the proceeds and the attachment and all that stuff.
That's awesome. I hope, and all this is going to come out, and it's not going to look good for that guy. He screwed himself. And he played around on the internet, and he's going to get caught. He's going to get caught, and it's not going to look good for him. And Massachusetts, damn it, do the right thing. Stop playing games with people. Do the right thing. This is
now a second woman who's had to sell her house and lose her career to, put up a defense. You know what I mean? Same thing with Karen. Karen had to, liquidate her 401k and lost her job and lost her house. The same thing's happening to Kelsey. And in addition to, there's a baby that needs his mom. And it upsets me because, watching him or again, the filings, he's trying to attach her property that she's trying to sell for her defense fund to get paid 18 years of child support up front. And, how is he so confident that he's going to have custody of this child for the next 18 years? That's the part that seems like we haven't seen this through. How is he so confident now that he will have custody 10 years from now?
It's bizarre. The whole thing it's like we're in bizarro world here, and the judges, and I don't understand why the police have sided with him, and what the judge cares. I don't understand why the hell the judge cares about these two to take somebody's side.
She's concerned about the officer when she was the one that was shot.
I know. The whole thing just doesn't make sense.
Guns at this point, he does.
It
just doesn't make sense.
No, the whole thing is it's just more Massachusetts craziness, and I keep thinking that they're going to do the right thing. I'm going to see a fucking judge do the right thing, or I'm going to, or a DA, and it doesn't happen. I just don't see it. I don't see them make the right choice. And I got a feeling even in Turtleboy's case, they're going to fight. The only reason that Morrissey did this today is because he couldn't prosecute the case, and because of the fact that he was damaged goods, because he's named as a defendant against, then that means that his staff could be prejudiced at the DA's office, and then they would have to go out and get another special prosecutor. But then he would be, and this is how Mark explains it, he would be the one to pick the special prosecutor. And he's biased, so, well, of course, he's biased anyway. It was always going to be biased, but the appearance of bias is so egregious that he didn't do it, and he dropped these charges. The whole thing is just, I don't believe anybody's going to do the right thing until they're forced. Such is the same thing. We didn't even get into it. I'm sorry we didn't get into the Proctor text messages with him. I'm sorry. Right. We didn't get into that. We forgot to ask him about Proctor's text messages, but there's a lot of supposition, and Mark Betterow was on Melanie Little today. That's the place to go to hear him break it down about the allegedly racist text that not only could have been about Miles King, but could also have targeted fellow MSP officers. We don't know that, but that is a supposition that people are making. I don't know the merit, but there could be racist, homophobic, and misogynistic messages. There could be more talk of looking at nudes of cell phones that he seized, etc. So, somebody here. Oh, Mod's sister, Captain Jerry Harris. I think Jerry Harris is a mod for Mike, but you're welcome to be a mod over here as well, Jerry Harris. If you'd like to, we will gladly give you a wrench. We are big fans of Mikey, and he was amazing discussion, a very frank and difficult discussion, nuanced discussion that he had with Turtleboy the other night. And at the same time, there are issues where have to be brought up to Turtleboy that he may not be comfortable with. But at the same time, we're celebrating today that they dropped the charges on him and that justice, at least in the beginning, is being served for him, because we don't want to see anything happen to Turtleboy as a result of his advocacy. This is ridiculous. And I'm glad that the chips are starting to fall. Let's see. Valhalla says, the official attorney of Calling All Beings says, I wonder if her PD found her to be trouble. This was an opportunity. So this is what we assume. Val. We're waiting to find out what the hell happened. Jerry, beautiful. Yeah, that's awesome. Some mod love here. Zelda's mod too. Oh, awesome. Okay. Zelda and Mike. Okay. Yeah. And you're welcome to. Okay. Awesome. We will give you a wrench. Send me, I just need to get your profile, your YouTube profile link, and I'll copy and paste that in there. That's awesome. Praying for the floodgates open for the entire state. Yeah. I mean, there needs to be a cleansing. It's kind of like having algae on the bottom of a dried out pool and just dumping muric acid on it. So
yeah. And
anyway.
and we've been so focused on Norfolk County, and this is Essex County in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So this is a whole different county, different DA's office. I mean, when that hearing on September 11th, where she was sent back to jail, the prosecutor didn't even put up a fight. Like, he wasn't even asking for her to put back in jail. He was okay with the way things were going. So it's just, in this case, it was the judge. But yeah, crazy.
Yeah, she's working her way. She wants to, like Brother Counsel says, hold my beer. Well, she's got a ways to go. Let's see how she goes. Let's see, because I think if they rule against her and it's overturned, I don't know if she'll be moved off the case or if Bradel will file a motion for her to recuse like they did with Bev. And then we'll see if she's still assigned to the case, we'll get to see if she's like Bev and if she recuses herself or she doesn't. That'll be a window into this, and you'll see. And let's say she doesn't recuse herself. And then that starts that ball rolling with evidentiary hearings. Then I'll compare her to Judge Bev, but she's not there yet. She's just a scumbag at
it's
this
just
point.
too soon. I mean, Judge Bev, we were 3 years in with Judge Bev, so we could see a whole history. I get your point. This is just the beginning. There's only been less than a handful of hearings that she's, since this has been going to court. So, it's just not a good start. Yeah.
It's been like 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this started in pretrial motions when they showed that Judge Bev rented her cottage to the Nagels. So no question. How do you send? Okay. So what you can do if you want, you can send it, Captain Jerry, to calling. Oh, beings1@gmail.com. There you go. You can send your link if you like to callingallbeings1@gmail. And we will add you. And thank you very, very much. We are down some mods right now. The cat lady is going through some stuff, and yeah. So basically, it's Julie. So, hi Peg. Thank you for joining. Oh, thank you. We've got a new member, Martha Ivy. Oh, and somebody wanted me to talk Scottish. Thank you for becoming a member. Are you going to the Halloween party?
I am. Are you, Nurse Deb?
And you're going to?
Hey, I don't give out my locations. I will be making sure I show my support for everybody.
Meaning she has been invited to come and join JFK and James's event over at the what is it called? What's the name of that place?
It's in Malden.
American Legion? The American
No.
Legion in Malden. So yes, Bia was invited to go, and she's going to be representing us at that event as well. So depending upon which one you're going to or both, you'll see her there.
Yes.
All right.
There you go. I will see everyone.
All right. It's
Split
time.
myself in half. There we go.
Exactly. We're going to get half a. Thank you very much. We also love the vibe here. That's why we do it. That's right. James, Kevy, Kev, and JFK. Yeah, like we explained to him, we don't kind of like try always to invite somebody on to bring in numbers and viewers. We try to give people a break from coming on, and then we'll invite them on, but we do it because we want to talk to people. Some people draw big numbers, some people don't. Doesn't matter. It's just, as long as we have a great conversation, it's mission accomplished.
Yeah.
So.
And we had a great conversation last Thursday at my mom's roundtable. So make sure you guys check that out if you missed it.
There was an awesome show. So yeah, I'm very, very happy for her. I know, right? It is. Love is love. Being kind is easy. That's for sure. And
Yep.
I hear people who use that and they kind of use it as words, as a tagline, but they kind of aren't or don't support people that are as kind as they espouse on air. Anyway, we're trying to put together David Polites' Missing 411 episode for you, which maybe we'll have this weekend. So we got to start trying to get the crew together for that. We and you are together going to watch some Missing 411 cases. We'll try to pick out 3, and then we're going to react to them, and you're going to get to react to them. And then after Bradley, brother of
weekend
Amy,
or next Wednesday?
next week.
Oh, okay. You said weekend, so that's just clarifying.
Next week, Brad Bradley, brother of Amy Bradley, from the Netflix special Amy Bradley is Missing. He will be on with us. That should be, Bia has done an exhaustive amount of research into this case. She wanted to talk to Brad. She's going to get her wish. So thank you, everybody. Any parting shots?
Me? No. Tomorrow we have again Kelsey's family hearing. So I'll be following that, and I don't think it's televised, but hopefully we get some information, and hopefully she, it works in her favor. Anyways, thank you everyone for joining. I know it was an early one, but now you get to watch other shows too.
Peace and love. See you, everybody.